Hello everybody, Chris here. Welcome to today's video, which is a breakdown of my new track, Determination. It is basically a Disney Super Mario hybrid kind of thing. If you haven't listened to the track yet, I'd recommend that you do that, and I'll put a link in the description box below so you can just have a quick listen to it. And then once you do, come back, and then we'll talk about how we put this together to get that cinematic sound. So let's get right into it. So let me go by section. I think that might be the best way to do it. And then we will talk about the elements that make up each section. Okay, so let's start from the intro. Cool. All right, so we'll start right off with Cinematic Studio Strings. Out of the box sound, not tweaked at all. You know, I just left it on the mix setting because I love the sound of it, and I just set it to its spiccato setting. Okay, you know, nice and easy. And then, oh, quick thing I wanted to mention. You'll see here that here it's by itself, and then I added in the lower octave to give it, you know, to fill in that frequency space a little bit. Because there's already that monster brass going on at the very bottom, right? And so I wanted something to fill in the middle just a little bit more. Cool, okay. And that little ding, that's the tubular bell. And just a quick side note, I first got inspired to start using tubular bells after watching Mike Patty's screencast video for his Cinesymphony Light composition video. Sorry. It's really cool, and right after that I just love the sound of the tubular bell, and I started using it in my own music. So this is what that sounds like. That little, oh yeah. And by the way, this is all from Cineperc. Most of this is from Cineperc. I'll show you that in just a minute. And I want to talk about the brass, because that's the meat and potatoes of this intro, what's going on. So first of all, most importantly, is the low monster brass. That's literally the Cinesamples patch pulled up, and then I just recorded in that note there. A lot of this stuff, as I said, it's out of the box, you know. I don't really tweak settings too much. If I like the sound and if it fits with the rest of the instruments, then I'll just go for it. Now this here, we have a trumpet forte piano sample and a trumpet swell sample. So separately, actually I'll solo both of them and I'll play them. So you hear that little discrepancy in the middle, right? As the swell comes in. But in the mix, you don't really hear it at all, so. And the other thing that gives it that built-in quality is the timpani. So here I have a roll, right? So pretty simple. What I really like about this Cineperc timpani is that as you play the roll button, or sorry, as you activate the roll, whenever you let go of the key, it'll actually add in a hit for you at the end to end off the roll. So it's really nice. You don't have to manually put in your own hit to finish off the roll. So really cool. All right, let's continue on. So I have simple hit going into verse 1, and let's talk about the percussion really quickly in verse 1. So snare, obviously. Let's see where that's from. Yeah, so from Cineperc. And then I have the bass drums as well from Cineperc, and then I have what else? Yeah, that's it pretty much, honestly. The timpani does most of the heavy lifting. It gives it that oomph when we have those chord changes. So 2, 3, 4. I just really love the sound of it. It's really well tuned, these timpani. And then a roll. Yeah, cool. So what does that sound like here? So it's not super clear, but it does give a little bit of support in the mix which does come across. Again, it's not something you're supposed to hear, you know, by listening to it. You're not supposed to say, oh, there's a timpani roll there. No, you're supposed to hear how it supports the rest of the instruments, right? So, okay. Oh, before I talk about the brass, let's quickly talk about the woodwinds. Here we just have the Holly Woodwinds instrument from Cinesamples again. Dun, 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 dun. And this is literally just the 2D patch pulled up. Let me just actually bring that up. Let's see. Oh, it didn't even click it. Okay, so 2D staccato. Let me just show you here. So 2D staccato right there. Stage only. Drag that in and it immediately just gives me that cinematic sound I really like. So I'll play a few notes. Cool. Sorry, I don't have my keyboard connected right now, so I can't play too many chords or anything. So yeah, that's that. And then we have Flute Trills. And this I'll put in whenever I have brass playing longer notes. So you can see here with those little waveforms there. Let me just play it. They're slightly panned. And then here as well. So I'll play that in context. Okay, cool. And we have this throughout, these little things. Now, inspiring. Have a listen to this. This is really cool. Without it, you may lose some of that magic, but the woodwinds act as a kind of like a pad. Right. Cool. And then let's quickly listen to it in verse 2. So I turned the volume up just a little bit because everything got slightly louder in this second verse. And then before we move on, we have basically Holly Woodwinds doing some scale runs, which are right here. I mean, if that doesn't blow you away, I don't know what does, because I love this library, Holly Woodwinds, and their runs. Whew. Yeah, honestly, there's no tweaking there. It's literally just the stage position mics, and I'll just play one note, and it gives me the run I want. So it makes my life easy. I don't have to worry about, you know, these technical things because I'm not a technical person in when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, okay, about the brass. Again, Cinebrass. And this is the 6 horns patch. In the core version, they'll have the 6 horns and 2 horns. I use core slightly more than pro. So yeah, you can see here 6 horns and 2 horns. And then in the pro version, they'll have 12 horns and solo horn. So horn solo, really in depth, and then 12 horns. I considered using 12 horns for this main melody at the beginning. But I thought it might be too much right away, and so I reserved the 12 horns a little bit later. Where is it? Right here, 12 horns for the final chorus to layer in with the string melody, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Cool, okay, and then what do we have here? Right, so this is Berlin Brass, the bells up patch in their horn ensemble, and I basically just put one in to layer in with each strong beat. So let me just play it once. Dun, 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 dun. And then I'll play it by itself. You hear that tail, the reverb tail? That's from the Teldec studio in Berlin, which is lovely. I really like that. Berlin Brass and Cinebrass are the only 2 brass libraries I have, but at the moment I feel I can do pretty much whatever I want with them, you know, for my style. So and now a little bit of 2 horns here. Sorry. Sorry, that's 6 horns there. The two horns are providing more of a harmony there. So when I have longer notes in the 6 horns, I'll use the 2 horns to provide maybe a third below or something, you know, to give it that little support. A little bit of horn ensemble staccato. Now this is really crucial, actually, this patch here, because when the 6 horns patch is playing their long notes, isn't that lovely? Like, I love how that patch fits so nicely into the background without having to do any tweaking whatsoever. So, you know, I just did to kind of fill in that space, you know? And then same thing right here. And I think I did the same thing here. Yeah. So that's a quick tip for you guys. Just make sure when you have empty spaces, you know, harmonically, or when you have a melodic line holding a certain note for a long amount of time, fill it in with other things that will keep the listener interested. Now, little details here. So this green section is just the extra things like that. So harp and orchestra tremolo, low chords, female choir, children's choir, we'll get into that. Beautiful. I literally just pressed a button there. So this is Cine harps, by the way, from Cine Samples. And in case you wanted to have a look, it's really, really beautiful. It's unfortunately the only harp library I have. Actually, not unfortunately. I love it. So why would I need another one? But yeah, for my cinematic style, I really, really enjoy using this, and I have 0 regrets about having it. It's really, really cool. So you can see all these different buttons here. All these different keys are mapped to its key. So I'm on C right now, so this will activate a C glissando in the key of C major, sorry. So all of these, sorry, that's C sharp, right? That one's descending, and then this next one is ascending with a turn, I believe, and then descending with a turn as well. And then you can use these to affect, you know, further what you want. So this is the scale or glissando type, and then here you have short, medium, long. So I definitely recommend this library. If you want to know more about it, then I would recommend watching Todd Edwards' video about it, or Alex, the music producer. He's a very good composer as well. So those guys have excellent Cine harps reviews videos. Anyway. And then also we have a little bit of low chords here. Now this is a special patch because this is from Cine Orc. So I think I started it from the E minor. Sorry, let me see. 3, 4, 2, 3. Sometimes I just can't help but be amazed by some of these patches. And then I just layered that underneath everything else. Yeah, when you're using a patch like this, you have to be careful how you voice the chords because, excuse me, they have different mapping of root position, first inversion, and so on. So it might be a bit awkward to play sometimes, but just make sure the voice leading makes sense. And in my case, I had to play them in, but then manually go in the piano roll and adjust the data there. So verse 2 is quite similar. I don't think there's any really much additional stuff. Let me see the strings actually. So this is still ensemble staccato. Right, so that's just to accent those strong beats in the brass. Oh, okay, here, this is the milk and cookies. Why do I keep talking about food? The part I love most about this ensemble sustains in Berlin strings. And if you're curious about the patch I used, I believe it's just the Berlin Strings Ensemble Light or whatever. Let me quickly take a look. Cinematic Studio Strings, Violins 1, whole ensemble sustains immediate. So there we go. This is in Berlin String. Let's have a look. Whole ensemble, immediate right there. Okay. So let's just hear what this sounds like when this comes in. Cool. Sorry, I apologize for the little static things and whatever. I'm on a laptop right now, and using ScreenFlow at the same time kind of pushes the limits. So anyway, this is what it sounds like just by itself. You know, really just a layer and give it that lush sound while we have these chord changes here. I really enjoy doing that. Yes, and then this I added in last second. This is Cinematic Studio Strings, the cello patch. I just felt that there wasn't quite enough in the mid-range to, you know, going on, so I added in some cello staccatos here. And again, this is just the default setting, so no reverb added or anything, just by itself. Okay, and then the bridge, we have... by the way, this part is just a looped part of the first run through, so don't worry about that. Then the bridge, now, okay, I want to talk a little bit about the theory of this part musically. So I used the circle of fifths quite a bit in the bridge just to kind of go away from the tonic a little bit. So by the way, this track is in D major. If you have perfect pitch, you already know that, but basically I started from the dominant, which is A major, went back to D major. So let me just play the last chord. So 5, 2, 1, right? And then here, so there it sounded like maybe we took what we just did, the 5 to 1 in the D major, and took it up a little bit. And if you thought that, then that's exactly what I did. So I went from A to D, and then I went from B major to E minor. So I took everything up a whole step. And so that kind of takes you away from the D major a little bit, brings you into like a uncharted territory a little bit. And I think that's what you can use like a bridge section for, you know, to experiment with modulations and that kind of thing. And modulation is coming very soon. So now C major to G major. So there's another circle of fifths. So what I did was I went from C major to G major, so subdominant to tonic, and then B flat major to F major. So again, I took C to G, moved it down a whole step, B flat to F. So it's quite interesting, right? So you go from one resolution, 5-1, bring it up, 5-1, and then you go 4-1, 4-1. It's literally just going up and going down. So you feel like you left somewhere, or sorry, you started from a certain point and you came back down and arrived back at a certain point. But because now I'm back, and now I'm in F major in this chord, right there, that's F major. That's really different from D major, which is where I started. And lo and behold, I totally departed from D major by this point. And that's A flat major, which is the flat 6 of C major, which I'm about to hit. And sorry, I'll quickly mention that this A flat major is heading towards G major. So flat 6 to 5, 7 to 1. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. Suspension there with the C. Now we're into the chorus. All right, So we still haven't talked about the patches yet. So barely any percussion here, only a bit of piano there to fill in the chords. And as a piano player, that's the first thing I went to kind of, you know, give it that lush feeling. String-wise, this is a combination of Cinematic Studio strings and Berlin strings. Those are the only two string libraries I really have. Excuse me. But I really enjoy using them because they contrast very well. So CSS first violins, second violins, violins, one legato, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Nope, I didn't use violins too in Berlin strings. So the reason I combined these two libraries is because Cinematic Studio Strings has that lush, romantic quality, and it doesn't really cut through a mix very well. It's a very dark sound, right? So you don't really get that many high frequencies from it unless you EQ it or something. But if you layer it with Berlin strings, which has a very clean, pristine quality to it, and it's very clear, then those combined can help you get that lush sound with some definition. And so let me see if I can find that and play just a little bit here. So there's his violins 1, violins 2, second violins, and then Berlin strings. Let me actually, so literally just these two playing. So Cinematic Studio Strings by itself. Right, so very romantic, very lush, and then a little bit of Berlin strings here as well. So it's a lot crisper, right? And then but I didn't really want either of those by themselves, or else it kind of felt out of place. Like CSS was too much, too romantic, too dark, and BS, Berlin strings, was too grating. I don't want to say grating, but too clean, you know? So together, it works in my opinion. And then here, these are added in harmonies. Sorry about those distortions. And then let me add in the ensemble. So that's a majority of the harmonic support in the chorus. So yeah, this is the ensemble patch, ensemble sustains, doing a lot of the work. And surprisingly, for an ensemble patch, that sounds really good, so that's why I used that one. Okay, let's quickly talk about some of these other ones. So here in the bridge, you can see that the low staccato strings faded away or dropped away, and then here in the chorus I brought them back. So, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I love this patch for its biting quality. I think it's from Metropolis Arc 3 and or 1, but you know, it just gives it that really clean and precise accent on each of those beats. Dun, 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 dun. This is Metropolis Arc as well. I don't know, the recording quality of Orchestral Tools is just out of this world. Love the stuff. And then ensemble sustains we talked about. Quickly, this is Cinestrings runs from Cinesamples. That's wonderful, that sound. And this rhythm of dun, 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 as you can see here in the Woodwinds, that's really characteristic of Nintendo. I don't know about Disney, but you know, that's what makes it sound like a video game, this kind of rhythm. Again, this is the Ensemble 2D patch, staccato articulation from Woodwinds. I mean, it just sounds so cinematic out of the box. And that's Woodwinds right there. Cool. All right, and then, oh, I didn't talk about the flutes yet. Okay, so in the bridge, we also had a flute to layer over the strings. And this is the first flute from Berlin Woodwinds. Just a legato patch, honestly. Just a little bit of mod wheel, and that's basically it. And then a little bit of bassoon. So it gives it that little pining quality, which I really wanted in there. Something to contrast that lush string sound at the top, and that flute quality as well. Okay, so yeah, very little brass. The only brass that comes in here the descant horn from Cinesamples. I basically love everything they put out, so let me just quickly play this. To me, that's as realistic of a descant horn as we're gonna get. Those legato transitions are insane. Okay, and let's see, some trombone. This is a godsend, by the way. The trombone brassy legato, that was part of the update to Cinebrass Core, because before they didn't have trombone legato. So, yeah. And then what's this? Oh, right, just a solo horn from Cinebrass. To kind of support that there. And then from the build-up, going into the chorus, you can see this here. This is the magic right there. The Orchestra Tremolo, and this is from Cineorg. And I'll pull that up really quickly. This is in version 2 of their Cineorg library, which is right here, the Vivaldi Tremolo. So let me play that. And let me see if I can click on it and bring up its volume, because that would help. Right? So in this section here, so I played an A flat, an octave higher, another octave, and then G, higher G, octave G, and then the right hand G, and then final G on the top. And then I automated that to grow into the chorus naturally. Without it, loses its excitement. And then here's just the low chords in the Cineorg as well. Sorry. Let's keep going. So chorus time. Now the string ostinato comes back here. Now you can see each bar is different here because I had to change the notes slightly for each different bar because the chords are changing, right? Let's talk about the layering of the melody really quickly. So we have the strings, cinematic studio strings and Berlin strings, but also we have the six horns coming in. And the six horns patch is the one that's filling in the gaps when the strings and flute are holding the long notes in the melody. So it just needed that harmony. And then here I am in the second half of the chorus, I also brought in the trumpet. And this is from Cinebrass Core. And then in addition to that, I also brought in the 12 horns patch. Really, really epic, very cinematic. also layered with a little bit of trombone. Octave below. 2 octaves below. Cool. Hopefully we're nearing the end here. I'm sure this video's gone way too long. So, female choir legato, brought that in the second half of the chorus, and I wanted to start off the chorus with the children's choir, which of course is not playing right now, but basically I was just outlining the bass line with the children's choir, and then the female choir came in a bit later. And this is from Metropolis Arc 1. Beautiful choir. And just to finish off, we had a little harp glissando. When it refuses to play. That's alright. But I'll figure out why. But anyway, yeah, it's an ascending glissando into that part. Cool. And then I think there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Oh yes, going back into the verse. So we're at C major. And you hear that change back to D major. So literally all that was in the tonic of C major, dun, 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 dun. Then I went down to A, which is the submediate, the 6th, dun, which becomes the dominant, or the 5th of D, dun, dun. So I go from 5-1 after that, right? So I think that makes sense there. And hopefully it didn't sound too abrupt on the track. So let me just play it one more time. Back into the main theme. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this track. If you have any questions, orchestration questions, or anything like that, just let me know. I'd be happy to answer anything. I really appreciate you watching. This is really a labor of love. You know, it took me a while, maybe combined 10 hours or so, 8, 9, 10 hours to do this. It was, but a lot of fun. So when you're doing something like this, you have to make sure you enjoy it, because that's with anything you do, obviously, but when you're composing, it's really easy to become disinterested with certain ideas, existing ideas that you have, and you might be tempted to move on to something else. So when you begin an idea, just make sure that you come back to it within a certain amount of time. Like, you know, at the most, I would maybe wait a week or so, but ideally do it within that session or a few days following the recording of the idea. So anyway, thank you so much. I know it's been long, but I appreciate you sticking with me. And if you have any questions, again, let me know. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, everybody.